This is what it's all about. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and it's time for Churchill Downs today, presented by TwinSpires.com. Happy Friday, everybody. 10 races on our agenda. Again, picture-perfect conditions for an early fall afternoon. Main track is fast. Temperatures in the upper 60s at this point as we continue to see those rise. Winds are variable, just shy of 6 miles an hour. Lots going on here at Churchill Downs as we move through the September meets. Let's take a look at the headlines. Nobody hotter in the jocks room yesterday to start this racing week than Brian Hernandez Jr. He had a riding triple. 2 of those wins for trainer Kenny McPeak. Mitchell Myrtle also with a riding double. Today's Derby City 6 jackpot carryover, $43,207, begins at race number 5 of 10. Sir Alfred James is favored in today's sprint feature. Wide open 9th race on the program, and a big stakes afternoon tomorrow, Saturday. The favorites in those respective events, Caribbean Caper, King Fury, and Irish Unity. Well, we've got Sir Alfred James as the likely favorite in the featured race, the 9th event today, and we have Money James Scully on the set with me here this afternoon. First appearance of the September meet. James, how was your summer?
It was really good, Joe. I'm excited to be back here at Churchill. Really got a great card today. I love these $134,000 allowance races that are practically like stake races, 5 2-year-old races. I just thought some really competitive events today.
Some big races coming up tomorrow as well as we bring in the third member of our team, Ed DeRosa, from the paddock. And Ed, great card today. Beautiful weather. Lots to look forward to tomorrow as well.
Absolutely, Joe. I think the only thing better than the weather is the racing today. Great 10-race card from Ben Huffman and his team that I'm certainly looking forward to wagering on. And as if that weren't enough, we get 11 more good ones tomorrow, including a stakes trio. A lot of good races coast to coast tomorrow. Glad Churchill holding up its end with a trio of $275,000 races. In some cases featuring some familiar names, and others maybe some who are ready to take that next step forward into the graded stakes company. Let's take a look at our first stakes of the 3. It's the Dogwood. It's a grade 3. It's 7 furlongs for 3-year-old fillies. And this was a tough race for me. I ended up going with the even money favorite. I really struggled with maybe to take a shot. For those who follow TwinSpires and Churchill Downs on Twitter and other social media, you'll see we all kind of had our disagreements here, but I did go with Caribbean Caper, in which should be a pretty scintillating dogwood for the 3-year-old fillies. Up next is also a 7-furlong race. This for the open 3-year-olds, a field of 10. Maybe a little more competitive from a not a big favorite standpoint. Ram, a horse who ran in the Preakness, so that's one that's known. Flags up, 20-1 on a horse that won its share of races, so that kind of tells you top to bottom with those kind of prices. And I know that James Scully took it on the chin for his pick of Dreamer's Disease on national radio, but Money James definitely knows how to pick a winner. That one's on the rail. Really good. Won't say renewal of the Harrods Creek because it's our first one, but for the money, the horses certainly showed up. And then I won't call it the feature because they're all the same from purse-wise, and the Dogwood's a grade 3, and this is the first edition of the Bourbon Trail. But what a fun race. The Preakness distance, former course record held by Eskin for it. Maybe that goes down tomorrow with some really good horses here at a mile and 3/16, including King Fury, the 6-5 morning line favorite. And we are going to talk to that one's jockey, Brian Hernandez, outside the jockey's room, fresh off that riding triple yesterday, guys. And speaking of triples, this stakes triple, it's a good one.
Well, Ed gave a plug to Eskin for it, Kenny, but Idle broke his track record last year. But we do appreciate we appreciate the promo there, Ed, and we'll be checking back in with Ed in just a little bit as we discuss with him the Derby City 6 jackpot carryover. James, it hasn't been hit yet this meet, $43,000 plus, adding a little bit more flavor to a great Friday recipe.
Yeah, definitely, and we love the Derby City Gaming. Like Ed mentioned, we have 2 brand new stakes tomorrow, both being $275,000. So Derby City Gaming has really contributed to the purses, and the Derby City 6 is the best jackpot bet in all of horse racing. We'll look forward to talking about it today.
Yeah, let's take a look at the jockey and trainer standings as we sit on the racing for today as far as handicapping it in just a moment. Tyler Gaffleone, he's been winning the titles here, but this is a battle, James. He's only up one win on 4 different riders. Brian Hernandez, a riding triple yesterday. Florandru Rafael Bejarano with a riding triple on Saturday. Mitchell Merle with 2 wins yesterday. Joe Talamo's right there as well. And on the trainer side, Kenny McPeak with a training double yesterday. Steve Asmussen and Norm Cassie all tied with 3 apiece.
Yeah, Tyler Gaffleone and Steve Asmussen would have been in the overwhelming favorites coming into the meet, but their competitors have a chance. There's not that many days left in the September meet, and it's a really tight standings for both jockey and trainer.
All right, James, let's jump into the card here. Race number 1 of 10, pick 5 wagering, 15%. Minimum 15% takeout on the 50-cent minimum wager. 6 furlongs a distance, maiden fillies. They are 2 years old, and they're in for a claiming tag of $50,000. So let's take a look at the top pick. Our joint top selection look no further than the rails. Steve Asmussen, Brian Hernandez Jr. teamed up for a win yesterday with with Tomato Bill. They have Vinegar Veggies in the opener. Lost to a pretty talented rival in the most recent start in the special weight ranks at Indiana. Now drops in for a tag for the first time.
Always had the potential for a first-time starter to show speed in here, but it looks like Vinegar and Veggies, based upon that second effort where she really, I thought, showed improved speed last time, is going to be the one to catch. Looks like she possibly could just dictate terms on the class drop. Tough to go against her in the opener.
Yeah, didn't show much in the debut at Ellis, but really improved second out of the box, losing to Majestic Doro, who came back and ran in the Pocahontas, I believe, 5th for Brendan Walsh, in a decent performance. So Vinegar Veggies dropping in class here looks like the one to beat. Pick 5 wagering, again, available in race number 1. As we move on to the second event, James, pick 4 wagering in this one, 6 furlongs a distance. Once again, for the 2-year-olds, these are winners, though, and they're in for a tag of $40,000. Looks like a very evenly matched race.
I thought it was a very solid field for the level. You don't expect to see an entry-level $40,000 claiming race be this tough. Ring Me Darling, number 3. Really lots to like about this dialed-in filly's chances. She really offered a solid run in her last race on the turf at Kentucky Downs in a stake race. Loved how she broke her maiden, going away by 4 1/4 lengths on the main track, first time out at Ellis. She looks extremely tough for Eddie Keneally.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to what you said about the debut win. It was an easy win. She was bet down to 5-2 that day. She was in hand on the turn, responded when asked, won that race under a hand ride, and then tried Stakes Company, the juvenile fillies at Kentucky Downs. Brad Cox with an impressive winner in Turner Loose. Brad also ran second with Yin Yang as well. And Ring Me Darling ran evenly to the wire that particular day. Now in for 40, cutting back in distance and back to the main track in this one. I did utilize the 5 Awfully Fast as my second choice here. Niall Collum, not a trainer that I'm overly familiar with, but also has the Kentucky Downs Stakes. 2 $40,000 claiming dirt sprint at Churchill angle in this one's favor, and cozy outside draw with natural speed. Anybody else you like?
I'll mention number 2, TK's Joker, definitely stepping up off a maiden claiming debut win, but I like the fact that she overcame a little adversity that day, bad start, just shrugged off that trouble and went on and won nicely.
All right, we'll move forward to the third race on the card. This one is a starter, $10,000 in the last 5 starts. I really love this condition that Ben Huffman and his crew have instituted into the condition book here. Also, these kinds of races I noticed in the Keeneland condition book moving forward. A lot of times when you're eligible for starters, you're eligible for starters for a year and a half, 2 years, and you can just make a living doing that. This is for horses that have started for $10,000 or less in their last 5 starts. So eventually you're not going to be eligible for it anymore. I think this is a great way to write a starter race.
Absolutely, and this race has a lot of pace in it. It's a 6 furlong race. What Joe was talking about, last 5 races, this is the last time that Jack Van Berg, number 4, will be eligible for this condition. Really been facing some nice fields in his last 4 starts since being claimed for $10,000. He's won on the lead before, but Jack Van Berg doesn't need the lead to win. I think he's going to sit just off the speed, get first run on on the closers, and he just looks real formidable to me in race number 3, Joe.
Yeah, it's funny because we both recognize the fact that there's a ton of speed in here, and normally you would gravitate to a stalker or a closer because the table's going to be set, but we both picked speed horses. You took Jack Van Berg. I took Tumbling Sky, who might be the speed of the speed. This horse was claimed for $5,000, 3 starts back at Ellis out of a win. Came back and won by 7 at Ellis in the next start. Cleared easily, won with something left in the tank, and then went to Belterra last out in the starter 8. Ran third to Beverly Park. No disgrace in losing to that horse. That horse has won 5 races in a row. Tumbling Sky might be a little bit of an overlay here, maybe 7-2, 4-1 because of the under-the-radar connections. Marianne Shearer, James Graham, who was aboard for that victory 2 starts back. I'm going to try the speed of the speed here in what is a fascinating race, James.
Absolutely. One of many competitive races on the card, Joe.
Race number 4, starter 8. This one different, though. It's a 1.1 miles. Again, this condition is a little bit different. It's for horses that have started for a claiming tag of 8,000 or less last year and this year. So going back to the traditional starter conditions here, you are going to go against the odds-on favorite here, James, Exalting the 5. More on him in just a moment. Who are you going to try to beat him with?
You know, I'm going to try to beat him with number 8, Jammer's Justice. I really think that this 4-year-old Colt Speed is going to play well in this spot. You know, his last race on the Kentucky Downs was disappointing. He didn't run at all that day on the turf. But you look back, his last dirt race at Pleasanton, he ran a good third that day, was on the front end. You know, his next to last dirt start, he won. 2 of his 4 wins have come on the main track. I just see this race as having very little pace. And what the thing with Exalting is, if he runs back to his races in the spring, they're not beating him. I don't think he's in as good a form right now presently. So I think being a little bit of an off-the-pace runner like he is, I think he's potentially vulnerable.
So Jammer's Justice ran on September 5th at Kentucky Downs. That was the opening day card where it was raining early in the day. They called it firm for the first couple of races. Then it went to good. Then it went to yielding. That was a random day of results. Horses either handled the turf or they didn't. Jammer's Justice did not handle the turf at all. Draw a line right through that race. I agree with James. Don't even pay attention to it. Don't even pretend that it happened. Look back to the other races, and I agree with James. If that horse does run his best race on dirt, could give Exalting a run for his money. But also on the same day, Exalting ran September the 5th at Kentucky Downs over a good turf course, and he just didn't handle it. He was never comfortable. He was 5 wide. He made a bit on the turn, flattened out. The winner of that race, clear for action, went gate to wire at 50-1. You can draw a line through his race as well. Look back to those dirt races, James, at Mountaineer, Indiana, Churchill. Yeah. He was absolutely dominant. I think we see that horse again today.
I think it's a little bit unusual to see a horse that's going to be odds on that's 1 for 10 at today's distance. And it probably might be just an anomaly. It might be a thing where, hey, he's been winning a mile 70 yards and these tracks maybe didn't have a mile and a 16th distances. But it's just a little bit strange, I thought, on paper.
Yeah, I would single him in the multi-race wagers. James is going to go against, and that's why horse racing is the greatest game, because it's all about opinions. We'll find out who's right in race number 4. Race number 5, Derby City 6. We'll send it down to Eddie Rose in just a couple of moments to get the particulars. James and I are going to work our way through it first. 1.16 the distance for $25,000 claiming veterans. And James, you are on the 5 horse here. Leader of Men for Grant Forster and Corey Lannery. And Corey, very familiar with this guy. Kind of sort of seems to run hot and cold, but if he brings his A game, is as good as anybody in here.
His last race at Churchill Downs was a mile and 3/16. This race today is a mile and a 16th. Leader of Men actually won his next to last start here at, won his next to last start going a mile and 16th on the main track. The thing that I like about Leader of Men is that he needs to sit close to be most effective. This race has a moderate pace signed on it, looks like on paper. I think that's going to help him sit a better trip where he can be within striking range. And if he's there at the top of the stretch, he's got a shot to finish up best of all.
I was sitting in the gold room a little bit earlier. I almost fell out of my chair when I saw the 12-1 morning line on Pinson. He's my top pick. I would be happy with less than half of that, quite honestly. Claimed out of his last 2 races, both second-place performances at Prairie Meadows, behind the very legitimate Guided Missile 2 starts back, and last time out behind a horse by the name of Bow and Arrow, who's on the absolute top of his game. Now, Pinson's 1 for 11 lifetime at Churchill Downs, James, but 13 for $465 lifetime with earnings of over $500,000. He hasn't run since the end of June, but he's been training forwardly for this for Randy Morris. Gets Julien Leparoux in the saddle. Very popular at the claim box. He's the horse in this race that's back in good form, that's on the rise, while a lot of these might not be exactly where they'd like to be at this point of their respective career.
And I can see your point exactly. 2 wins, 2 seconds, last 4 starts. People are will dismiss Prairie Meadows form, so you might have something working there, Joe.
All right, let's send it down to Ed DeRosa to get the particulars on the Derby City 6. Once again last night, one not-so-lucky ticket holder, as it turned out, Ed, got quite a thrill, but several people got paid back when all was said and done.
They did, and another one of those situations where the right key opinion, maybe 2 of them, was what you needed to hang your hat on and get a decent score for how it played out. Let's take a look at that sequence, which did end up having multiple winners. And you and I were able to get a sneak peek, so to speak, at the ticket that was live to the jackpot. And that ticket did also have number 10 Boma. So they got a big thrill. Tubman ranged up. Boma too good. We'll talk to jockey Brian Hernandez about his big day yesterday. That was the 3rd of 3 wins for him. It came at 4-5, and it ended a $6,500 payout on a sequence, again, that included 3 winners, 2-1 or less, and the other 3, the only one you had to really dig for, I guess, was Beyond a Million. And if you were a believer in Hartman Merle, or maybe it was Speed of the Race, any number of angles could have given you a reason to use that one at 8-1. $6,500, ending with a 4-5. Best jackpot wager in racing, because it's 15% takeout, 90% payback, and today there's an additional $43,207 up for grabs if you're the lone winner. But again, even if you're not, 15% takeout, 90% payback, plenty of reasons to play and share the pot. I have not seen James' ticket yet. We're about to look at mine, then his. So I'm not sure if James and I can share, but I certainly wouldn't mind getting a piece of it for $43.20. That's the total cost here. No singles, not because I'm against that, just didn't really have a horse I really wanted to hang my hat on, but I am narrow early, 2x2x2 guys. Pinson, I'm with you, Joe, and then 3x3x3 to close it out. So very caveman style. I spent a lot more yesterday and missed. Just today feels like play my strong opinions and go from there. James, how do you see it?
Ed, we have common horses in 5 of the legs, but we cannot both hit it because my single in race 8, the 4th leg, is chop and drive. You do not have that filly on your ticket, so that's where we have a big difference.
All right. I'll hedge if I'm live.
All right, my ticket's $36. I'm going way deep in the last leg. I start off with 2 horses, including my long shot pick Leader of Men. I got 3 horses in the 2nd and 3rd legs. Like I said, chop and drive. I think this 2-year-old filly is going to relish the stretch out to 2 turns today. And then I come back with Shoplifted, Coltonator in the feature, race 9. And then in the finale, I got 5 horses. I think that race is really up for grabs, Joe.
All right, again, $43,207 is the carryover pool. It begins at race number 5 of 10 here today, the Derby City 6. Pick 5 wagering available in race number 6 furlongs the distance here for $20,000. Maiden claiming 2-year-olds. James, you landed on the 2. Willie Has Heart, but will he win?
Yeah, the thing with Willie Has Heart is that I just thought that he showed improved speed last time, and that's something I really like to see with lightly raced horses. I think it's a sign that they're really moving forward and progressing. He really comes off a good effort where he ran 2nd. It was against $16,000 maiden claimers. He's stepping up to face a little bit tougher today. But I see this race where it's not the strongest field. We have 5 horses dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claiming. I don't see a lot of pace. I expect Willie Has Heart to get a favorable trip on the front end, and I'm on the Kent DeSormo horse today.
And I'm hoping somebody pressures that horse and that a fast pace sets the table for the number 11. Rhythmicalea is how I'm going to pronounce it. This one debuted at Lone Star, ran in the mud, finished a distant 9th, did not threaten, tried sprinting on the Evangeline turf course, ran a pretty good 2nd in a field of 6 that particular day with a little bit of finishing punch for Scotty Gellner. Then tried Kentucky Downs. Again, that was opening day, September 5th. Horses either handled the turf or they didn't, but most of the winners did come from off the pace, and this horse made a middle move that particular day. Finished 7th against maiden special weights, now drops in class. You mentioned the big drop, cuts back in distance, returns to the main track, tries fast dirt for the first time by Lee out of an Algorithms mare. Pedigree certainly suggests that the horse should be able to handle the surface and the distance switch. I think there's some speed, should find clear sailing on the outside. 8-1 in the morning line. I'm going to take a shot.
I mentioned a long shot in there. Well, 5-1 shot. Fireman Dan didn't run a step in the debut. Got bet a little bit. Gelded, blinkers. They're almost throwing the kitchen sink at him. Dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claiming.
All right, race number 7, pick 4 wagering, $40,000 claimers in this one. 7 furlongs is the distance for 3 and older, a veteran group. And James, you landed on the 5 horse here. You landed on the 8 horse here. I'm on the 5. You landed on Super Soul. Lots going on with this one. Cutting back in distance, back on the dirt. Blinkers on here for Juan Cano. And this is another one who's run some big races sprinting on the dirt in the past. And we'll see if he can rediscover his best form.
Yeah, absolutely. Last 4 races on the turf. I'm not going to count any of those efforts against him. His last 2 starts at 7 furlongs. He won a starter allowance at Keeneland going away by 4 lengths. 7 furlongs on the dirt is Super Soul's best distance and surface. His last race at Churchill Downs, he gets beat by 2 1/4 lengths against, I thought, a much tougher field. I just think that in both of in all of his races where he's run well, he's been able to settle within 5 lengths of the early lead. I love the addition of blinkers today for Super Soul. I expect him to get that good up-close stalking trip within 5 lengths of the lead and make his run coming off the turn.
Yeah, this is an interesting horse and a race full of interesting horses. It's really good. Handicapping, what's the best word I want to use? It's a handicapping exercise because there's a lot of different ways you can go. If I looked at this race tomorrow, I might see it completely differently. But I went to Identity Politics on top for Steve Asmussen. Again, a horse that has been competing against similar competition and competing against better competition as well over the course of the last several months. Only ran 3 times in 2020. Has only run twice here in 2021. But the most recent start off the bench came on August 21st at Saratoga. Got a nice, solid stalk and pounds victory. That particular day, Steve claimed the horse for $35,000 on the rise to 40. You get Tyler Gaffalione here with a horse who has been remarkably consistent throughout his career. Appears to be back in good form. Again, lightly raced over the course of the last couple of years. And I think we'll get first run on your horse, Super Soul, in a race that has a little bit of everything. Speed, stalkers, closers. I think Identity Politics will get first run and hold off the deep closers.
And I'll just add on Identity Politics, claimed Asmussen from Chad Brown. See a lot of Chad Brown horses get claimed and run well back the first race. That's not a negative.
Yeah, good point. All right, race number 8, a mile and a 16th maiden special weight contest for 2-year-old fillies. And fascinating race here, James. I know you like a horse quite a bit in here.
Yeah, I just think it's a race where people are going to be all over the board. Lots of people spread in this race for multi-race, I hope. I love number 2, Shop and Drive. She's my best bet of the day. I'm going to single her in multi-race bets. This filly, first time out, ran second to Joy Racer. I thought that was a really nice effort considering she didn't really get, drop back to 7th. It was 7th coming out of the gate, rallied from 8th in the early go or 6th in the early going. Needless to say, her last race at Ellis Park, I just thought that against stakes rivals was perhaps in a little bit too tough that day. Still ran a decent 4th there. The thing is, both races have been in a sprint. Shop and Drive is bred to go 2 turns. She's by Super Saver. She's out of a dam that's a sister to like Mohaman, Enforceable, a champion 2-year-old New Year's Day. Just Whistle Dixie's in this immediate female family. All the stakes winners in her family have won going 2 turns. She's going to love the added ground. 2 encouraging efforts to start her career. I like Shop and Drive in race 9.
I didn't pick her, but I'm going to increase your confidence level here with a couple of different things. First of all, the Indiana Grand Race, she broke terribly. She closed well. Joy Runner's a perfect 2 for 2. In the Ellis Park race, that was a very speed-favoring racetrack, very little sense when gate to wire. The fillies ran slightly faster than the boys did in the debutante versus the juvenile race, and she was wide. She was 3 wide, 5 wide on the turn. There were some sneaky reasons to like this horse, and I think you're going to get a square price in here.
I think so, too. I really think Penny Saver and Golden Sights are going to take a lot of money in there.
Speaking of penny savers, second on debut to Pretty Birdie, who came back out of that race to win a stake for Norm Cassie. Ran well that day, did penny savers, stretched out on turf, last out, ran fourth, but Chad Brown had a 4-5 entry that ran 1-2 that particular day, and a penny saver broke slowly. She did close some solid ground late, has a two-turn experience, and Kenny McPeak won with a couple 2-year-olds yesterday.
Absolutely, and his horses got a little bit derailed at Saratoga where they couldn't run for a few weeks. He's had King Fury sort of in the same boat where he brought him back and ran him on turf. Dirt's probably their best surface.
All right, we've got race number 9 before James and I jump into this featured event, a sprint, optional claiming 2 other than. We're going to send it back to Ed DeRosa to give us some information to take us beyond the PPs. And Ed, you and I were talking in the Gold Room yesterday about Chris Hartman and Mitchell Merle, and I'm like, man, those statistics have to be amazing. Can you please, Ed, look them up for us?
And I did. I went beyond the PPs, courtesy Brisnet, the official data source of Churchill Downs, the Kentucky Derby, and TwinSpires, and dug in to those jockey-trainer combinations here at Churchill Downs. I did not filter turf out, even though we're not on turf this meet, but did think it was important since I looked back all the way through 2016 to take a look at all races. And this is sorted by win percentage, so your top win percentage jockey-trainer combos, and you needed at least 50 starts. So Eddie and Tyler just did sneak in there, but 28% for them. But even better, a double crown, so to speak, because Chris Hartman and Mitchell Merle, 21 for 64, 32% win rate between the two of them here at Churchill Downs. More than double your money on flat betting anytime they teamed up. That is absolutely incredible. And more incredible is it keeps happening. This isn't a couple $50 winners last year or people are wise to it and they keep getting bet down. They were that 8-1 yesterday that kicked off that Derby City 6 that ended up paying $6,500. Chris Hartman, Mitchell Merle, a tandem for the ages, 32%, more than double your money. The other positive ROI on this list, Chris Richard and Corey Lannery, 18 for 65, positive ROI there. And Lannery is there with Hartman as well. Negative ROI though. Corey takes more money than Mitch, which is why when you bet Mitch, you get rich.
All right, thanks, Ed. Fascinating stuff. We'll be checking back in with Ed outside the Jocks Room during our starting gate segment in just a few moments. James, let's take a look at race number 9. 6 furlongs of distance, 2 other than optional claimer. Very good race with a little bit of everything. Sir Alfred James dropping in for a claiming tag here of $62,500 after more than holding his own against Stakes Company for Al Stahl. Colby Hernandez, who knows this horse very well, is back aboard, but you're set to oppose.
Yeah, I just see a lot of speed in this race, this 6 furlong allowance race. I'm a little worried. Sir Alfred James, I mentioned it to you off the air. He's been a little headstrong in his recent races. You know, I thought last time just being rank on the front end cost him in that race. Didn't finish well. It definitely was against a nice horse. I like number 10, Shoplifted. I think that horse, when he was running here back in the spring meet, Joe, was not in good form. I think that last effort at Saratoga really was a wake-up positive sign that he's turned things around. He's moving in the right direction for Steve Asmussen, and he's just going to get the perfect setup today. 6 furlongs, good distance for him, I think, 6 or 7, and I like Shoplifted from off the pace.
Hasn't won since 2019 and did get the perfect setup 2 races ago on June 25th at Churchill. A hotly contested pace. He did finish 5th that day. Ran 2nd last out, as you mentioned, at Saratoga. And I agree with you. I got him picked 2nd. He's got a tactical advantage here because there is a lot of speed. I'm hoping that Colby Hernandez can rate Sir Alfred James just off the early pace. He made the lead last time out at Ellis Park. Kind of got cooked a little bit in the pace. Lost to a very tough rival in Bango. Not only that day, but at Churchill on May 29th. Game win here at this level back on April 27th at Churchill Downs. And I like the fact that he's drawn outside the other speed, James. If Sir Alfred James can rate, maybe sit 3rd or 4th, get first run on the closers, I think he's got an excellent chance to win it. But again, he is the favorite in a wide open race.
He is, and you're right. The outside draw is advantageous, perhaps. Definitely an advantage being outside for a horse like him who probably needs to sit just off the speed. I'll mention Coltonator as well. He likes Churchill Downs. He can finish. He's going to be a little bit of a price.
Race number 10, this is one of those RNA or $45,000 or less at the most recent auction maiden special weight races that I love. You run for a little bit less money in these kind of maiden special weight races, but you are protected, and it lets the little guy who buys horses for less money compete in these sorts of races before maybe eventually dropping into a claiming race if need be. 6.5 furlongs of distance in this one, James, and you landed on the 8th. Unified Report for Dallas Stewart, a Louisiana bred against Open Company, but Dallas has pulled this act before with Louisiana breds winning against Open Company, taking him to fairgrounds, and being overly competitive against his own sort during the course of that.
He's won at Saratoga with Louisiana breds against Open Company. Dallas has. And this Unified report, she's like from the first crop of Unified, who was won his first 4 starts by Open Lens, including a couple graded stakes. The thing I like is that her damn closing report, she won her first race by 4 lengths. She then followed with a 2-year-old stakes win. So this filly's bred to be precocious, or this colt's bred to be precocious, and has worked real well over the track as well. You don't see a lot of Dallas first-timers with these, 48, 47 and change works. So it looks like she's working well, bred to run early. If she can get out of the gate well, I think she's going to run a good race today. Unified Report.
Hilaire for Brad Cox out of the Unraced Dam. Playful Dancer by Violence has been tearing up the work tab at Turfway. Buckingham Prince obviously makes a lot of sense here. Norm Cassie in the thick of the trainers race here during the September meet. This one was 5th on debut, but 2nd at Ellis and then 2nd at Saratoga, and that experience certainly works in this one's favor.
Absolutely. I mean, you get 2 Brad Coxes as well. I thought that Rewire was a little interested. We got Moneylender from Asmussen. Just a terrific race, and you're right about Ben Huffman. I mean, he writes this specific category, gets 15 horses to enter in it. So it's definitely there's a need for it here.
All right, so 10 on the agenda, fast main track, beautiful day. James will be joining me on the desk all afternoon long. Ed DeRosa in the paddock doing his thing. Travis Stone doing his thing, which is calling the races once they start. First, the changes. Steve Buttleman doing his thing, which is the call the post all afternoon long. And, of course, to kick things off, the national anthem. We'll be